Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Barnstable This Morning. We're just about 21 minutes toward the top of the hour now, and we are doing a special storm preparation show here on this Friday, February 8th. I'm Sarah Colvin, and joining me now on the phone from the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, I welcome Peter Judge. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, Sarah.
How are you today?
Well, I guess ready to go.
So, Peter, tell me a little bit about what MEMA is doing to get ready and gear up for this storm.
Well, this has been a week-long preparedness event for us. We've been having constant conference calls, National Weather Service having on those calls were all local officials, particularly folks along the Cape and coastal communities. Then on Thursday, we had basically brought in folks from about 20 of our key agencies who will be here once we activate the State Emergency Operations Center. The folks that are going to be able to help out, everybody from State Police, National Guard, Department of Transportation, the usual suspects. In addition, Red Cross. We also had representatives from all of the utilities who are all going to have a presence here throughout this event. And a number of the big box stores as well are going to be able to help us in case we need some assets that are not available at the state level. And then today, at noon, we're actually going to go into full operation, fully activate the State Emergency Operations Center out here in Framingham. So we'll have well over 100 folks here who ultimately are going to be here to help local communities if and when this event exceeds their capabilities.
Wonderful. So, Peter, if you have the information, what is the latest that MEMA is hearing from the National Weather Service about this storm?
It's remaining very, very consistent. They're still talking, 1 to 2 feet of snow, in some places potentially more than that. Still talking about those extremely high winds along the coast, gusts 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. Obviously, from our perspective, from your perspective down there, the high tides are going to be a real focus for us, even though this is going to be a statewide event at 10 o'clock tonight and at 10 o'clock on tomorrow morning or thereabouts when we hit the high tide marks. We're going to be really watching what's happening down there very closely because there is the opportunity for some major coastal flooding, impact on roads, seawalls, obviously homes down there. So we want the folks down in the Cape to pay very close attention. If you are in an area that's susceptible to this type of flooding and your local officials are, requesting that maybe you should get out ahead of this, please do. Don't dally and end up putting them in harm's way when you call them 3 hours later to say, gee, maybe I should have evacuated. Would you come and help us now? So, it's very important, I think, to listen closely to your local officials throughout this event.
Indeed, it's really that better safe than sorry adage. Even if you didn't need to evacuate, it's better to be out of there should something happen than to be there if something does.
Absolutely. I mean, people say, well, I've rode out this storm and rode out that storm. This could be a very unique storm, particularly the folks along the coast. So this may be something unlike you've been through before. So just don't go on past history.
Indeed, and again, is that just because of the expected high tides and the heavy wind that accompany the snow that we're anticipating?
Right, but in addition, it looks like the temperatures are probably going to be a little bit higher in southeast Massachusetts and along the Cape. So the rest of the state, although getting a lot of snow, it'll probably tend to be more fluffy. The snow that you folks are going to see down there is probably going to be denser, a little wetter, a little heavier, and therefore there are going to be potential major power outages experienced in that part of the state just because of the nature of the wind, the heavy snow combined with the trees and the wires that are out there.
Absolutely, Peter. So, of course, we are definitely gearing up for those potential power outages, and we know that, as you said, the utilities are at the ready to work to fix that. But again, with the expected kind of dense, heavy, wet snow, it's going to be a little bit difficult for crews. So what can our residents do to ensure that they are ready for a power outage?
Well, from a power outage perspective, we constantly talk about this throughout the year, and the folks, particularly in Western Massachusetts, who basically went through a string of power outages over the last few years, I think you finally get it. The fact of the matter is there's potential for losing power for multiple days with this storm. Part of the reason is once the lights go out, crews are still not going to be able to go out to start to fix things until the storm subsides, and more importantly, till the winds subside. They're not going to put their folks in harm's way by putting them up in bucket trucks with very strong gusts out there. So, the initial response is not going to be immediate. That being said, we want folks to, have in place their emergency kits. What do you need if the lights go out for a couple of days and you can't get to the store? So we're talking about certainly flashlights or battery-powered lanterns, extra batteries, a portable radio to monitor this storm. Certainly bottled water, non-perishable food, first aid kit, whatever your family is going to need. Also, you want to make sure you've got some of those extra heavy blankets around because, in the overnight time, not having power might mean you're not having heat as well. So if you're going to lose your primary heating system, make sure you are safe with your secondary heating system. If you're going to use a fireplace or a wood stove that maybe you haven't used in a while, make sure it's in working condition, make sure there aren't any problems with it. And those folks who sort of leaned forward a little bit and went out and got generators, make sure you know how to use them wisely. Make sure you know how to set them up. And I guess along those lines, it's also a good idea at this point, make sure you got fresh batteries in your smoke detectors and your carbon monoxide detectors as well, because we don't want you to become a secondary disaster in your home by having a fire or having, the ambulance come because everybody in the house has been impacted by carbon monoxide because of a poor setup of a generator.
Indeed, and also I know that some heating systems do vent to the outside, and I know there was a tragedy several years ago where the vent got covered up by a lot of snow, causing some carbon monoxide poisoning. So what can people do to make sure to kind of check around their house to see if they do have one of those venting systems and just make sure to clear the snow off should it come above those vents?
Absolutely. It's something that people maybe just take for granted, and they probably have not quite sure where it's located because they've had any issues with it. Find out where the vent is, and it may be 4 or 5 feet above the ground. But that being said, with this wind, a lot of the snow could be drifting. So even though you say, well, I'm not going to get 5 feet of snow, so I don't have to worry about it, well, you could end up with a 5-foot snowdrift against your house, which would cover up the vent. So it'll be a chore in the middle of the storm, but periodically, if you can find a way just to double check, make sure that vent, particularly off gas heaters, that gas systems, that vent can be crucial to keep open. Let those exhausts go out, because if they don't go out, they're going to be retained in your home, and you're going to be in harm's way.
Absolutely. Peter, is there anything else that people should keep in mind? Obviously, we've been urging folks that once the snow does start to fall to try and get home as quickly as possible, stay off the roads. Anything else along those lines that you'd like to let our viewers be aware of?
Well, I think initially, people continue to monitor this storm during the course of the day. Watch the news, listen to the weather, because, as much as we've been talking about this storm all week, the last minute things can change. Timing can change. It could come in quicker than expected. The amounts of snow could change dramatically. There's a number of things that you don't want to be caught surprised. People are aware of the event, but the actual details of the event could change. So we want people to kind of be in touch throughout the day, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that we get through this with just we have to dig out and we go on about our way next Monday.
Absolutely. Plan for the worst and hope for the best, right?
Absolutely. That's what we do.
Indeed. So, Peter, again, as you said, that MEMA and the rest of the crews are kind of getting ready to mobilize and will be kind of in full effect as of noontime today.
Right. And people might say, well, I know the governor said to get off the road by noon, but it's almost noon and there is not really any serious snow going on. Well, part of getting off the road is enable the crews out there to get ahead of the storm. There's about 4,500 pieces of equipment that the Department of Transportation has at its disposal, and they're going to be out there ahead of the serious snowstorm, treating the roads, and they don't want to be stuck in traffic with people who are waiting till the last minute. They want to be effectively try to stay ahead of the storm as much as possible. So even though it may not be the worst conditions at noon, you're doing yourself and your neighbors a favor by getting off the roads as quickly as possible.
Indeed. Well, Peter, I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here in Barnstable this morning. Always a pleasure to have you, and thank you for working hard to keep us safe.
Okay, and you all be safe now, Sarah.
Thank you, Peter.